I may make rugs, but I'm not a doormat. Except in this case, I became a doormat. I was invited to the TikTok Awards last year and I just could not decide on what to wear. Now the theme was formal, but with a TikTok twist, and it got me thinking. My thing is making rugs, so what if I killed two birds with one stone and wore a rug? A rug dress? Now once I start thinking about a creative project, I can't stop until I've made it, or I'm in pain thinking about it. So I got to brainstorming. Now after a brainstorm session with my mum, we came up with a really basic idea of what the dress could possibly look like. Had either of us made a dress before? Nope. But we've made hundreds of rugs before, so how hard could it really be? They are some famous last words. Not only were we now trying to figure out how to make a dress from scratch, but also just the little tiny bit of added stress of the fact that we only had a week to do so before the awards. I wanted the dress to be created out of panels that would then be stuck together to create a skirt. And then for the top, I kind of wanted it to be like a tight corset, but a big love heart that said, "Go Rug Girl, go." With these ideas in place, I started designing. My thought process was to make it pretty, but also in theme of what I do on TikTok, which is live streaming. On TikTok Live, you can receive gifts, and my favorite gift to receive is the humble rose, which is only 1 coin. That's why I love it. So I thought I'd fill every single panel with a rose each. Now with the colorways, I was thinking to keep it sort of with my branding, which is redbackrugs. And I think the black panels with the vibrant pinks and greens of the roses sort of made everything pop. And for the back panel, I wanted to put my favorite quote that I sort of live every single day by. This quote was said by Meryl Streep on behalf of Carrie Fisher, two of my most favorite people who've ever lived.
As my friend, the dear departed Princess Leia said to me once, "Take your broken heart, make it into art." Thank you.
Take your broken heart, make it into art. And then a big red heart for the top with bright white writing. Done. I went through a few variations of adding swirls and other random graphics to the skirt, and the more complicated it looked, the more I hated it. And what I've learned in the past with designing is sometimes you just gotta stick with your gut instinct, which is often the first instinct. I ended up making a tiny little model version of the skirt just so it made sense in my brain, because I'm a very visual person and I am so shit at maths, which means this next part had me tweaking a little bit. But with mum's help from all the things that she's learnt from her mum, who was a seamstress, we found a skirt that I wore to a year 12 formal that my friend Jordan invited me to, and we decided to create a pattern based off the shape of that skirt. So we traced out the skirt panels onto baking paper, and then we cut them out and measured them. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why, but this really broke my brain. I was struggling a lot. Once we measured those pieces, I went into Illustrator and measured up the exact size of each of the panels that we traced out to the digital design itself. Once these measurements made sense to my tiny brain, it was finally time to start making the rugs. I had a tiny bit of space on this frame that I was already working on to fit the top part and a couple of roses, which I had an idea to turn into little purses for me and my +1 to wear. There was tracing, tufting, gluing, and here's a little bit of a snippet of that. And now it was time for the skirt panels. I set up my frame to be about 1 meter tall and just under 2 meters wide. I stretched the tufting fabric onto the frame, which always needs to be as tight as possible, but this might have been the first time that I did it way too tight, that the tack strip started to actually pull off of the frame. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was fine, I just bashed them back in with some nails. Anyways, I spent like 2 hours measuring and drawing out the exact lines of each panel, instead of tracing them from the projector, because I just don't trust the projector. I feel like everything is always slightly warped. So yes, this included a lot of maths for my poor little brain. And yeah, I got it wrong a couple of times, so I had to use a few different colored Sharpies, whatever. I also didn't have a ruler long enough or anything long and straight to draw those big long lines. But I got creative and I used my tiny sword of Gryffindor and a broken end of a needle threader, all attached to some yarn to create a long straight line. Guys, you just gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Once the panels were finally correct, I then got my projector to project all the little images of the roses and also the words on the back panel. And now the easy part. Tufting. I actually went live on TikTok during this entire process, which was wild. Everyone who watched really saw every single emotion come out of me. So for everyone who did watch, I'm sorry, but also thank you for sticking around. I wanted to start and finish at least one panel during this TikTok live. 1 of 6 panels complete. The next day I worked on getting the text panel done. Now text is really hard to get right while tufting. You have to be very precise while tufting words in order for them to look good. And it didn't help that these words were tiny. The best part was filling in all of the black around the words and seeing all the hours that I spent just on those words being worth it because it looked good and clean and neat. And that was without even shaving it and carving it yet. On to the next panels. Now, since I already had one rose panel done, I decided to go through and just do color by number sort of situation. So I completed all the roses first, filled in all of their colors, and then went in with the black and blocked it all out. Seeing it all done and on one frame was the most exciting thing ever. This vision that I conjured up only a few days ago was already coming to life. I glued them all down really well because I did not want to be falling apart at the seams, literally, at the awards. Everything was tufted and glued and dried, so I cut them all down, laid them flat in preparation for my favorite part, shape. I gave everything a really nice and neat, clean top shave before carving, which is my favorite part. So satisfying. I'm just gonna let you watch that for a little bit. Now, to really give them the red carpet look, I'm obviously gonna put the red back on the red back rug. But instead of just using the normal felt that I use, we ended up finding this beautiful red velvet. I wanted to double back the rugs with both felt and velvet in order to make them a lot more sturdier. So after cutting out all of the pieces that I needed, it was time to test out the prototype and see how the skirt would actually work. We found this stretchy, thick elastic band that would attach to itself like the back of a bra. So I measured the thickness of that, then used my sewing machine to sew 2 lines across to create this little tunnel for that belt to go through. After seeing this work, which was a big shock, I sprayed those pieces together and attached them to the first rug panel, and it was done. So after knowing that this pattern and technique worked, it was time to do that 5 more times to the rest of the panels, as well as going in with the black trimming that I add to every single one of my rugs, which prevents fraying. And of course, just giving it that final touch. I knew when the panels would go around the belt and then eventually putting it on me that it would just fall flat, and that's not really the look that I wanted. So to combat that, I sent Mum to the nearest party shop and asked her to find some red tutus, because my thought process was if I wore a tutu under the skirt, it would give it that extra lift, and it would lift them ever so slightly, giving the skirt a little bit more movement and life rather than just being flat and straight down. And now with the tutu on, all of the panels threaded through that random belt thing I made, I put that thing on and it fell straight down. I forgot how heavy rugs are. The idea was there though. And now, so was a shit ton of anxiety. But now, with literally no time to waste, I threw that over to Mum to try and figure out while I now worked on the top. I pinned down some thick felt around in the love heart shape and cut out the excess. I then used the same method as the skirt panels and sewed on the velvet on top of the thick felt, leaving a big gap in the middle as like a passageway to sort of do the same thing as the belt. But in my head, obviously instead of a belt, I thought, what if I cut a red tube top in half, thread it through there, and then just sew it back together again, and then I can just wear that. That was the first idea, but I didn't like how it looked, and I wanted this red velvet to be a motif that I was using throughout the whole outfit. So now I needed to try and sew on this non-stretchy red velvet to this extremely stretchy tube top. So my thought process again was to sort of make the tube top into a scrunchie type thing. I've never made a scrunchie in my life, so I don't know what I was thinking. And again, the idea was there, but god damn it, the result was not. Now this is where dressmaking knowledge would have come in handy, but I got none, and I didn't even have time or even think about Googling it. I just now needed to get it done because the awards were the next day, and the skirt was still pending a solution, and now so was the top. I let my brain rest a little bit while I started working on the rose backs, which were actually piss easy in comparison. I had to step out for a bit, and while I was gone, my mother, the goddess she is, came up with the most amazing solution to the skirt problem. She figured out that if we just use a real life leather belt and thread it through the panels, that it would work. She sent me photos while I was out of it working, and I literally was brought to tears because I was so relieved. So thank God, at least the skirt was wearable, but I could not rock up topless to the bloody TikTok awards. So it was back to the brainstorm. I actually stopped filming and documenting this part because I don't know how I did it. I don't know how it works. None of it makes sense. Even now, I don't even know how to explain it to someone. No one else can wear this dress because how do you put it on? Don't know. It's seriously a mystery how this dress comes on and off, but I will try and explain it a little bit here and now. So this is the top, right? This is the beautiful red velvet. Should I just take it off and put it back on? Yeah, let's do that. I've named my mannequin Rosa. Love you, Rosa. Okay, so Rose is gonna have to sit there for a sec. Thank you. This is the top. This is the back, and this is the tube top I was telling you about. So the idea was there that I could just cut the tube top and then sew it back in around through this tunnel thing that I created, right? Anyways, I did that and it just kind of flopped around, and then I was like, okay, I guess I could just sew the top to here. I didn't want that. So then I was like, okay, I'll make a giant scrunchie. I don't fucking know how to make a giant scrunchie. So I ended up sewing a long piece of this red velvet. Look how beautiful it is, by the way, to one side of the tube top. So now the tube top is one circular thing there, and then one long piece here. Okay, are you still sticking with me? I'm sure some dressmaker in the comments is gonna come up with an extremely easy solution to this humongous problem, but mind you, it had been a full week of making this dress and my brain wasn't working and it was like 1 a.m. Anyways, this is how you do it. Rosa. You put her on, put the tube top on. Like this. You move this around. Just complicated for no reason. Now we move it over so that this piece is in the middle. Like that. And the rug panel's at the back now, making this so much more complicated. Anyway, and then with this piece, you wrap it all the way around, push it through the rug panel, and then bring the rug panel forward. There, you can leave it sit there, and then you bring this big piece and you bring it around the town, and then in the front here I would get like safety clips and then clip this piece onto this piece, but for now I'm just going to tuck it because I don't know where the safety clips are. I'm going to bring her up like this, bring it all up, bring it all up, bring it all up, and this piece just fell out, and then I sort of just tucked the sides. See, that's the tube top and that's the velvet. I sort of just went and tucked it around, and when it was on, it looked so good. I looked so cinched and nice. It looked like it was made, but it was not. Anyway, you go do that all the way around. Oh, and she's falling apart now. But anyway, I think that makes sense, right? And alas, with that done, at 2 a.m. the morning of the awards, the rug dress was finally done. I went and had my beauty sleep, so it didn't look like I had just slaved over a rug dress all week, but I will say I did not have a good sleep. I had so many nightmares of it falling apart and all of a sudden maybe not working the morning of, but the morning came and it was time to put it on. Top first, then the tutu, which we ended up attaching some velvet panels to, then the glorious skirt. It came together, and as much as I was in shock that it actually worked, I was kind of like, I just did that. Going to the awards though was nerve-wracking for a few different reasons. One, I didn't want to drink too much water in case I had to pee because it was like a 2.5 person job to take off the dress and put it back on again. Two, it was a 35-degree day, so if I wasn't keeping hydrated, I might faint. And three, it was forecasted to rain, and the red carpet was outside. So now my worry was not just the dress falling apart, but also me fainting and now the dress getting heavier because it was soaked in rainwater. God was certainly on my side because the rain did not touch that area whatsoever. And there was air conditioning inside, so you bet I ran straight inside. It was such a satisfying feeling being there, especially because I had a lot of people who were walking around pointing, going, oh my God, I saw her making that on live, which is so cool and surreal to me. It was awesome. The show was awesome. Sitting down, I couldn't breathe much, especially when Jojo Siwa started singing Karma. But all in all, the experience was amazing, and I can't tell you the amount of things that I have learnt about this craft and how far you can actually push it. I can't wait to just do more and make more insane and fun things. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do all the things, and stick around because I have so much to show you.
Ding dong, ring a ding 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 dong. Redbackrugs, want your rug in a hurry? Wanna put it on your floor? And you want it extra fast? Yeah, 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 I can do express delivery. Wanna woo while I watch a movie? Watch me live at Chrystal Christie.